So yeah, hopefully some people are just going to start popping in. Thanks for joining. Give it a couple minutes and start the presentation.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Eric? How's everyone doing today?
Hi, you're good. Good so far.
That's good to hear. So longer. Okay, I think we'll just make a start now because this session will be recorded anyways. So for those who join a bit later or couldn't make it today, they can always catch up later on. So yes, thank you very much for joining today. We had a similar session run last week by the lovely and knowledgeable Sebastiaan, which got great feedback. So we thought we'd have to run it again this week. And I'm sure we're all aware on what's going on right now, and I'm sure our mind and bodies are aware as well. So I feel that this session, especially during these times, would be a great support. So yes, we've got Sebastiaan with us today, and he's going to touch on the 4 pillars. So the 4-pillar framework on the body, heart, mind, and soul. And this is going to be an open session. He's going to try and make it nice, fun, and practical. So if you do feel comfortable turning your cameras on, feel free to do so. But if not, that's perfectly fine. Just drop your questions in the chat box, and Laura and I will keep an eye on those, and we can even verbalize them for you if you want. To keep your mics off, that's completely fine. Most of us are working from home anyways, so I completely understand sometimes, you know, it's a few distractions and it's the school holidays as well, so that's fine. So yeah, and then at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A, so please feel free to stay on at the end and ask questions. And outside of this session, just know that we are all here to support you. If you ever want to reach out for extra support or even just a quick catch up online, drink a tea and a coffee and just see how things are going on, we're always here and happy to help. So yeah, on that note, I hope I've covered everything really in this little introduction. So I'm going to hand you over to Sebastiaan, who can introduce himself. And for those who haven't met me already, I'm Sophia. I'm part of the Wellbeing team with the lovely Laura, our Wellbeing manager. So yes, it's lovely to meet you if I haven't already. And Sebastiaan, do you want to take over now, introduce yourself and give a little overview of what this session is going to entail?
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you very much. This is the second of these talks that we are giving. And first of all, I wanted to ask a brief question. Has anyone attended the first talk? If so, just give a thumbs up. There we go. And if not, then we just keep it relatively empty on the thumbs. There we go. I see. All right, good. So my name is Sebastiaan. I am from the Netherlands and living here in the UAE, and I work with Joint Space. And Joint Space is a polyclinic in the Al Sarkal Avenue in Dubai. And from here, we are seeing many different people because there's many different specialists that are in and around joint space, from chiropractors to osteopaths, but also recovery clinics. And throughout, we of course are noticing that how the situation is impacting not only for people on the physical layer, but also on a more mental, emotional, or maybe even like a deeper insight, a spiritual layer. So what we do from Joint Space is we are opening up the knowledge that we have around us. And today it's my honor really to take you through 1 hour of a framework of thinking really. Because what I want you to walk away with today is not so much a solution, but more of an insight. And the insight is an insight of awareness. It is an insight of awareness of the self and how that self is responding to our environment. And you might say, well, I know that I'm responding to my environment, hence that's why I'm here. But where I'm going at is that there is particular layers within ourselves. There is the body, that is our physical experience. There is the mind, it's all of our thoughts and beliefs, our intellectual experiences. There's our heart, the emotional experiences. And then there is the soul on the deeper layer of experiences. And the insight and the awareness of the self is around these 4 pillars. So we're really going through some exercises and some things that you can do in order to get into that awareness. And from that awareness, you can see these 4 components as 4 pillars. And these 4 pillars can form the temple, a temple of holding yourself. And once you can hold yourself, you can also start holding others around you. So really my intention today is to offer just this simple framework that will help you to recognize what is happening within yourself and give you practical ways to remain grounded. So to acknowledge where we are currently at, right? I am personally checking the news and I'm receiving alarms on my mobile phone. And everyone in the UAE is experiencing this shift. And this is impacting our daily lives, obviously. And we are now 2 weeks in, so that gives our sense of that we are almost starting to, it's hard to say the word, but normalizing it. But it can't be normalized, right? So it is like our nervous system that is aware, but registering it's no longer on the layer where immediately we feel impacted, but it's like a subconscious layer. the conversations are happening, the sleep becomes lighter. Maybe we have like different dreams. Certainly me last night, like very strange, vivid dreams. The attention becomes more scattered, and it seems like we are asking ourselves more existential questions. Certainly when I speak with the friends around or colleagues, you start to notice that this time also brings a shared experience, and this shared experience takes us away from the me as the center of the universe and lets me experience that we are all in this together. And when we go through such experiences, we tend to ask more existential questions about ourselves, about what we're doing and the people we're doing it with, but also about maybe our work or what do I consider home. So many of these existential questions are arriving, and we need to give that a place. We don't need to judge it, obviously. It is just a normal response of when the outer world is challenging your inner stability. And again, for this inner stability, we're looking for this metaphor of the pillars of the temple, right? Through these 4 pillars that we just touched on. And this will be the core premise of today's talk, to go over these 4 pillars and to look at them. Not to like self-assess ourselves and to be very critical of how I'm treating my body or my mind or my heart or my soul, but more again, like I said, to create an awareness of the soul, how these pillars are active in my life when I'm, say, receiving inner peace. How do my body feel? How is my mind? What are sort of emotions are flowing through me? And how do I feel on the soul layer connected and aligned with my inner purpose? But also to create the awareness of what's happening when I feel challenged. And can I still check in all of the pillars, or is one pillar taking it over, right? For me and for many of the people that I coach, it is the pillar of the mind. And that is normal, because through the pillar of the mind, we are creating our perception of the reality. So our perspective is created through the mind. So hence, if that perspective creates uncertainty and unpredictabilities, then we need to change our quality of the perspective that we have. And hence we feel challenged and we might hold our breath, physical, or we might feel anxious, emotional. We might start questioning things that we're doing on an existential layer, on the soul. So you already see now, in just a brief introduction, how these 4 pillars can be challenged. And the premise of the talk, and almost like a promise also that I want to make, is that the more we tune into those 4 pillars, the more tools we have to become aware of the recognizing of these 4 pillars, the less effect and impact it will have when they are challenged, because we are more comfortable to lean on them. We have the language to check in with them and to feel and recognize that the body is safe, for example. And then we can lower the shoulders, start breathing again, and maybe lower the heart rate just because we're changing our breathing pattern. So awareness is like a self-remembering, and from that self-remembering, creating the stability of the temple through the 4 pillars. And out of those 4 pillars, we can start to lean on them. And that means that we can also allow others to lean on them, right? Because what they say in the airplane is that before you help someone else, you first have to help yourself. And the helping of the self also goes through these 4 pillars again. How do I help myself on a physical layer? That means the energy that I have from my body. Am I still doing my exercises? Am I still eating the right food that gives me energy? Am I still doing the breathwork exercises maybe that I committed to at the beginning of the year? On an intellectual layer, how am I taking care of myself? What sort of thoughts do I consume? Right? How often do I check and what sources do I check the news? How long do I scroll on the social media? How do I reflect of my thoughts? And do I believe all my thoughts? Do I have someone who I can validate my thoughts with? And what sort of analysis do I do on the information that I receive? So how well am I taking care of that, what I consume in that layer? On an emotional layer, how well am I taking care of the pillar of the heart? That means, am I holding on to my emotions? Or am I finding a way where I can express them? That can be verbally. For some, that's more artistic. For some, it's more physical. They allow it through dance or to just going for a run. Or maybe you want to write down things. And to what extent am I also strengthening the pillar, the emotional pillar, by allowing other people to express their emotions? Because, the ability to help someone else is a big gift. And often we feel energized ourselves. Have we helped someone else? And then how am I strengthening the pillar of the soul? That is maybe for you a spiritual practice, or maybe that is more of a mindfulness and meaningful practice aligning with your inner purpose. It can also be an act of creativity or artistry, right? The artist works through the soul because it's something that speaks through the person. It's not a choice by the mind, and it's also not a feeling of the heart. It's an expression of the deeper layer inside of us going through the body. So again, when everything is challenged, how do we strengthen these pillars, knowing that we feel the challenge from the outside? And how can we recognize these pillars when challenged? And if we arrive there, like that's already such a big gift, and that's already such a big takeaway to being able to recognize yourself through the lens of these four pillars as the challenges are arriving. And that also means when internal challenges are arriving, right? So sometimes the mind pillar starts to wiggle from the inside, right? The foundations are not so strong because your inner peace is challenged, because you might start to believe all the thoughts that you have. I once received a card from a friend, and the friend said, the card said something like, do I believe all the thoughts that I have? Question mark. And it made me smile a bit, right? Because obviously we know that not all our thoughts are true, but it was just so helpful to be remembered by it every now and then. So I hung it up on the wall, and just to remind myself that not everything I believe is true. And also that means not everything I see and believe is true. And this is something we will touch on later as well. Good. A bit of a large introduction with regards to the four pillars, on like how it is a temple of our personal well-being, and how this is all about a sense of recognizing a layer of awareness so that we can tap into that awareness the moment we are challenged. I'm now going to share my screen, and I'll be showing you some exercises with regards to these four pillars. But before I do that, I just briefly want to, like, if anyone feels, just give me like this makes total sense, or I already have a question at this stage, maybe through voice or by typing. Let's just allow for 2-3 minutes to reflect on what's been said. Yes, Sonia. Is there anything, Sonia, you wanted to share?
Sorry, no. This was a
Okay.
misunderstanding.
All right. Anyone else? Is this like, how does this land? Is this recognizable? Also, you can just give a thumbs up. That's most appreciated. Then let's go over some example exercises. I prepared here for you an overview of these 4 pillars. And as you can see, they all form a unity. And because we believe, and this is maybe one thing that that I didn't share in the opening statement, that all of these pillars, that they are always to be found within one another. So that means that they do not live in isolation. I do not have a body isolated from a heart, isolated from a mind, and isolated from a soul. They are a unity. So that means that when we strengthen the pillars, we are also in it strengthening the other pillars through it. So within the pillar of the body, I can recognize my heart. That means, for example, when I'm training, when I am going for a run, physically I'm going through some experiences. As my run continues, emotionally, I will experience some feelings, right? I might feel excited, or I might feel a bit, challenged. And then as I'm continuing running, the mind is also going to experiences, right? I'm having some thoughts. Maybe I say to myself that I can or cannot do something. I have certain beliefs, right, that we're aligning with. And then on the soul, on a deeper layer, I don't know if any of you is a runner or a triathlete. I myself certainly am. And there's always this sense of like a higher purpose, like I did something meaningful. When you arrive back at home and you sit and you're exhausted, these endorphins start flying through the body. So there is a deeper layer to the running. And especially when you're training for something specific, that goal usually has a higher purpose. And you'll see this through the following exercises. So we'll be going now through a couple of exercises that we put in a card game. This card game can be found on the website of Innocenti. You see the link below, essentience.net/pillar cards, and all of these cards have a video to it. These videos are for free, they are accessible. So, just make a print screen of the ones you like the most and feel free to watch the video. And as you can see, for each exercise, for example here, an exercise that sits more on the soul, present breath exercise, of just practicing 1 minute of conscious breathing, getting into a comfortable seating position and observing your breath to arrive in the present moment and become more aware of yourself and your surroundings. Then on the right side, we allow you to become aware of the other pillars that are hidden in the exercise of the soul pillar. So the present breath could be an exercise for the heart, but with this particular intention, we place it on an exercise for the soul. And then on the right side, you can read what you can experience in your body, maybe a relaxation of your heartbeat slowing down, or what you can feel in your heart, a union of your emotional center with your mind and body. And in the mind, you might understand how the breath regulates all the 4 pillars of your being. And on a deeper layer, you might sense the sacred stillness held in the presence of conscious breathing. So the right side are more like invitations for you to, again, the session is about awareness, self-remembrance, to remember these 4 pillars. And from that, because you remember them, because the strength is already sitting inside you, you can lean on them, form the temple, feel stronger, to move forward yourself and also for other people to lean on. So the right side is the awareness, the remembering. The left side is the activation, is the exercise. Then more for the heart. This is a breathing exercise of the box breathing. Some of you might know this exercise. It's a very common exercise where you inhale, you hold, you exhale, you hold, and you inhale again. And with your mind, you remain in the state of a staccato breath that is very controlled and rhythmic. What does it do for the heart? Well, you might feel some emotional steadiness return through this structured rhythm of breath. On the mind, you might understand the relationship between the breath and your emotions. On the soul layer, you might sense the silence emerging as the mind settles and the body surrenders. And on the physical layer, you might experience a release of tension and relaxation of your muscle. So again, either you speak more the language of the body and you become more aware of the experiences, then we help you to also notice the other pillars. Or maybe you speak more the language of the heart and you've never really noticed the effect on what it does to your thinking and belief system, say the mind. Then this one, I actually want to guide you through this particular exercise for roughly, let's say 2 minutes. So I'm gonna put a timer up for myself here, because this is a very powerful meditation in a way. So for the next 2 minutes, just bear with me and maybe close your eyes. You don't have to change your seating position. If you're driving, obviously don't close your eyes. But if you can, just close your eyes for 2 minutes. And I'm going to invite you to just observe your thoughts and feelings. So start noticing them, how they're arriving, without any attachment to it. So I'm just seeing a thought arrive. And without engaging with their thoughts, maybe I make it into little clouds. And on my inhalation, I'm inviting all the thoughts that I have around me. And on my exhalation, I'm just breathing the thoughts away. So in my inhalation, I'm observing it, but I'm observing it dispassionately. And on my exhalation, I allow them to just go away. And they might not go away immediately. But when I start aligning the inhalation of the invitation, all the thoughts that sit around me, I form them into a cloud. And on my exhalation, I just gently make space again in my mind. Slowly but surely, I start noticing that I feel less attached to these thoughts. The same I can do for my emotions. So I might be able to tune in a bit and sense, what is my current emotional state? And do I want that current emotional state? I currently feel peaceful. I want that. But I don't attach too much to it. I also dispassionately observe it as something that is just there. It is not a greater place to be. And I'm also not judging if I might feel not at inner peace, just observing it as it is. So this is an exercise of dispassionate observation. And I'm going to briefly skip ahead to show you a particular breathing pattern. And this particular breathing pattern is very helpful when you try to do this exercise of dispassionate observation, but also when you try to do any calming exercise or when you try to meditate. I'm going to skip forward so you can see it. It's the following breathing pattern. Also allow yourself to take a screenshot or a picture of this, because this is a very well researched breathing pattern that helps to switch our nervous system from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic state. And for those who do not know what that means, in very simple terms, the parasympathetic state is the state of our nervous system when we are at a relaxed state. Here it is, we are resting and we are digesting. The sympathetic nervous system is our active state. That is when we are more like in a fight-flight response. But also usually when we are just doing our work, the nervous system can get a bit more active. But how do you change it back? Luckily, we already have the tool that brings it back, which is our own breathing. So through our breath, we regulate the nervous system. And particularly through this breathing. What you do is you take a small inhalation through the nose, unforced, just quiet, and you take it low in the belly. So when I'm inhaling softly through the nose, and if I would have my hand on my belly, I would feel that my belly is pushing my hand away. Then I allow for an exhalation through the nose again. And this is just a gentle letting go of the inhalation, basically. So I don't do the following. I don't inhale actively and then exhale actively. I try to just almost observe my breathing, how it is. I always take an inhalation. That's inevitable for all of us. And then I'm just almost like switching off the pressure that is needed to hold that inhalation. And you'll notice that slowly the exhalations start to happen. And then after the exhalation, I wait. I place a little pause after my exhalation, and I'm waiting again for the inhalation to arrive. So I'm inhaling, softly exhaling, and I'm waiting. And the inhalation will arrive again, inhaling, softly exhaling, and I wait. And this breathing pattern is proven to help switching the nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic nervous system. And it takes roughly 6 to 8 minutes of doing this. For those who are wearing a smartwatch, you'll also see that your HRV, that your heart rate variability, will go up. A higher HRV means that the heart rate is beating more frequent. And the variability is actually a healthy thing. That's what we want. Because imagine if the heart is beating like this, very regular, then the regularity means usually that you're running or doing something, but usually the heartbeat goes in a variable path. So this is a breathing pattern. Let's not call it an exercise, because the box breathing, that's an exercise. This is more of a breathing pattern. And for those of you who have a baby in the house, you can actually observe your baby. And when the baby is in full relaxed state, you might be able to recognize this breathing pattern. It's a very fun exercise that I did when I was studying with Stans van der Poel, who helped to do the research on this breathing pattern. And it's really beautiful to see and recognize it, not only in babies, but you can also see it in certain animals. All right, so let's go back to some of these exercises of the cards, just for inspiration. We're not going to go through all of them in detail, but I do want to at least put them on the screen for you to be inspired. And either take them with you, or again, go to the website, look up the video, and take your time to just go through the exercise. This particular card is for the body. So that means that it primarily focuses on the physical body pillar. However, as we already expressed in the beginning, all the pillars can always be recognized in each other. This particular exercise is called flow sequence, where you basically shift yourself from a downward dog to an upward dog position for 6 times, and you align your breathing. And you might experience a more of like a fluid transition of strength and openness through these movements. You might feel a subtle balance developing between power of humility through the graceful flow on an emotional layer. You might understand how breathing links your how the breath linked motion supports the body awareness, and you might sense an embodiment of life force in motion. This is one of my favorite exercises called observing stillness. This is basically a meditative practice, but we don't do it sitting or laying down, but this one is done standing. So you find yourself in a standing position. You make sure that your knees are open enough, so you're not really holding yourself rigid, and you just start to relax the body in your standing posture. You can either close your eyes and just become aware of the body and how you're shifting your weight, where your balance is falling, where you're holding tension, and just observing the body as the vehicle that is carrying all our experiences and the 4 pillars. Then, for those who want to go deeper, the soul cards usually invite for depth. And this one is called Grateful Hearts, where you're going to write down 4 things, elements, characteristics of people in your life that you're grateful for. An exercise like this can really help to feel the power of this pillar, to feel the power of the connection that you have with the soul, and the soul is the higher purpose and the meaning. And this can really help, again, to deal with the outer environment. So I selected really all these cards specifically for exercises that I believe that will help in the state that we find ourselves in. Selfless focus. Well, during the month of Ramadan, this is the key card. We invite you to spend 20 minutes on the needs of someone else. And you shift all your attention away from yourself, offering your presence and care without expecting anything in return. So you attune to the quiet power of selflessness, and you deepen your sense of oneness. This exercise is so powerful. I mean, it puts a smile on my face already reading it, because when you start practicing this exercise on a day-to-day basis, and you can either do 20 minutes at once, or you divide them over like moments of 1 minute, where you spend 20 times 1 minute just on the need of someone else. That means saying hi to that person walking a dog and asking how he or she is doing, or how the dog is doing, right? How's the dog doing with all of this? And just allowing that person who is there in front of you to maybe open up a bit. Or maybe, during the month of Ramadan, we cook for others. Whatever sits within your mind. This exercise is really, really, really helping you to ground and feel strengthened in this soul pillar. The inner sanctuary card. This one is particularly interesting to do with children. Children from the age of till 7 are developing their brain, and the creative element is super strong. Right, the moment we can start engaging with our toddlers, we recognize that they can see anything in everything, and that is a super powerful tool for the child to have, and it's great for the parents to keep nourishing that. So this is a great exercise to do with your children, to really create this inner sanctuary, like a mental sanctuary, where which could be a safe space to return to. To step a bit out, I was at the museum the other day in Rotterdam, where I'm from, in the Netherlands. And there was this beautiful, interesting artwork of like the world, and on the world, there were like Lego soldiers. So it looked a bit odd. And then the description, it was shown like who made it. And a father made it with his son in Palestine, who basically they created this inner world within the world that they were experiencing, and they placed these soldiers basically on the world in order to, every time when they did it, to be thankful for the strength that they're receiving. And then the world connected with glued soldiers was like an end result of that. So just to show how through like a creative practice, we can also take ourselves to a more safe space, even though the outer world is challenged. For people who are new to breathing exercises, or for who it's hard to go into meditation, or when you find that you are challenged, when you are closing your eyes, and it's really hard to have these thoughts, blow them away. Very nice what you're saying, Sebastian, and feel my emotions. But basically what I'm feeling is stress. If this is where you are, that's totally fine. And then this exercise might really help you, because this says to not go and sit and do your meditative practice for 10 full minutes. It actually says, why don't you cut it up in 10 times, right? Why don't you practice 10 times, 1 minute of conscious breathing, of arriving in the present moment. And then after that 1 minute, you open your eyes again, you do what you need to do. Maybe there's a thought that popped up, you write the thought down, and you go in it again. And when you go in it, you can try to align with that in-out pause breathing, and you set your timer for a minute and try to be in the present moment. A good thing to remember when it comes to being in the present moment is to have a non-judgmental mind. And actually, I need to correct myself there, because that's not possible. You cannot not judge, but it's what you do with the judgment. So a non-judgmental mind either leads the moment it finds itself judging to condemnation or to compassion. And so when I am observing the present moment, and that present moment is not how I want it to be, or how I would love to feel in the present moment, I can either just observe it dispassionately and accept it for what it is, but that's not always the easiest path. Sometimes we find ourselves judging it. I should not feel like this. I should be stronger. Or why do I have these feelings? Why can't I just be present here? Then when you find yourself judging, either lead it to condemnation, or what I will not do that, or to compassion. Don't condemn yourself. Give yourself the compassion, the understanding that everything that we're experiencing is new for everyone, and we're all going through it in our own ways. And I'm not doing it better than anyone else, and that other person, the decision that he or she is making is also not wrong. Everyone is going through it in his or her own way. And it means also for yourself. Then the exercise of perspective shifts. These might be helpful when you really are thinking too much. When you're thinking a lot about what's happening, what could happen, and the impact of your job, the impact for your day-to-day life or the project that you're involved with, there is already the perspective of 5-5, right? The 5-by-5 rule is like spend 5 minutes reflecting on an issue and see whether it matters still in 5 years. Usually that helps to give people a bit of like perspective, like, this issue that I'm currently perceiving, say, the milk is no longer in the fridge. Will this matter in 5 years? No. Should I worry about it? No. But some of these concerns, of course, like what we find ourselves in right now, they are layered. Some of them might actually matter in 5 years, but some of it that what we're experiencing, with all honesty, does not matter in the next 5 years. And we invite you to then take 5 minutes of conscious breathing with it. So to really sit with the insight that the new perspective that you've gained, that it doesn't matter in 5 years, to just breathe with that for a moment and to embody it, right? Oh, well, those were the cards. They went fast. Yeah, I'm gonna just again stop sharing my screen. That's here, I guess. Boom. Because I spoke a lot and I see that we are also like going to the 46-minute mark. Again, inviting people to open up the mic, say anything, ask some questions. Maybe some questions have been received through the typing format of Teams. Yeah, I hope anyone took any screenshots. Just where are we now? Is there things that might want more, or just feedback?
I would like to say that just touching on the breathing exercises and also breathing patterns, it really does make a difference. And how to know how powerful breathing can really impact your mind and your physical self. And just personally for me, I really enjoy exploring different breathing exercises and participating in those. And yeah, I think it's great. And even with these cards, that you can actually have little tasks to follow and the videos that are linked to them, which is great. And even just touching on the cards, the 52 cards that you mentioned, I really like how it tells you exactly what pillar that card is for. So if you want to kind of work on and focus on one pillar, you can, or focus on another. And yeah, I feel like all four of the pillars really come together to create that strong foundation. So I've already taken some pictures of those cards and I'll definitely be doing those in my free time.
All right, that's really great to hear. Thank you very much for that. Any other observations that we received from this? Is maybe like, is this helpful? You know, give a thumbs up if you have the feeling this is helpful.
We've got some people in the chat. Someone said, thanks so much, enjoyed the session. And then someone else mentioned, thanks for the session. This was very much needed.
All right. Well, that is really great to hear, really, because again, I'm not trying to lead with like some groundbreaking insights or this is how it should be done. I really want to just open up this framework of self-awareness. Because I don't know if you've seen, but so Joint Space sits in the Sakal Avenue, and the cards game is developed through my company Innocenti. And the word Innocenti is a made-up word, actually, because it brings the word essence and sentience together. So essentience. And essence, of course, is the core of our being. And with the core of our being, that means also the core of all the beings that we have on this planet, right? Every tree has an essence, every grape has an essence. And sentient, like sentient being is to be aware, like the awareness conscious layer of it. So to be aware of your essence, that's the name of the company for the cards. And to refer back to it, like why did we choose such a name? That is because it is already inside of you. Like this is not something new. These four pillars are already a solid foundation of your experiences. And these pillars are also challenged, right? It's just that you might not be aware of it. And sometimes we think that we're strengthening one pillar, but subconsciously, actually, we are developing them all. And just to be aware of that will help us to feel also stronger in those pillars. So yeah, again, to sum it up, right? It is more of an awareness than that it is to practice something new. So I want to really like, before we ask if there's any more questions, I want to round it up with one more sort of monologue that I prepared. So uncertainty is an inevitable experience from time to time. And what makes the difference is how we respond to it internally. And by recognizing the signals of the body, the emotions, the minds, and our sense of meaning, we create a foundation of stability that helps us to navigate challenging moments with greater clarity and calm. So moments like these remind us that we are not only individuals moving through our own lives, but we are all part of our families at home, of our teams at work, and on the wider communities in the UAE. And when uncertainty appears, the most powerful thing we can do is to first take care of our own inner stability. Our body, our emotions, our thinking, and our sense of purpose. Because when we do that, and I really genuinely believe this, we don't only help ourselves, but we also help to create that calm and reassurance for the people around us. So if there's anything I would want to walk you away with, it's that. So I hope this was not inspiring, but encouraging. I hope you remember the pillars that are already living inside of you. And I hope that some of these exercises might help you to get in touch with them, strengthen them when you feel that they're challenged. Or maybe you can give them to the people that you have around you when you see that some of their pillars are challenged.
Thank you. That was great. And I would definitely agree that it is very encouraging and also inspiring to work on yourself, especially during these times of uncertainty. But yeah, thank you so much, Sebastiaan. Great presentation. We've got some new messages in the chat. Someone gave a thumbs up. Someone said it was very insightful, which I agree with. Thank you for the session. Great session. Someone mentioned having guidance and structure of how we can navigate all of our 4 pillars to be balanced is really great. Thank you so much, which is quite powerful, yeah. And lastly, having the opportunity to pause during the workday was great. Otherwise, reconnecting with yourself sometimes only comes up after work hours, and all things are rushing in at once. Thank you for hosting this again. I'm glad this was able to support you during working hours. And yeah, it's very important that although we are working, it's important that we work on ourselves and these special 4 pillars throughout the day, not only when the day is over, because we do work a big part of our week. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's totally true. And thank you really for that feedback. That means a lot for me to hear that people took the time to write that out. For those who want to take this in and digest it, and maybe continue with any activity later on, feel invited to check out the Joint Space Clinic. We give a lot of talks these days. We take people through free guided meditations. We take people to talks in the morning and in the afternoon. It's called our community practices. So we're on Alsakal Avenue. You can even join in person if you want. Or if you're curious about these 4 pillars, there you can see on the screen, you can take a screenshot. There is the Innocenti's website. And if you like audio guided meditations, for the people who are in the call, we invite you to just text me and I'll send you a link so you can download some of the guided meditations. So that's just what I wanted to leave away with for the people who are just digesting and maybe want to take actions a bit later.
Amazing, thank you. And I hope everyone was able to take a picture of that page with the website and everything on there. But yeah, if you have any questions, always here to answer and support you guys. And same with Laura and Sebastiaan as well. And for those who did join late, that's completely fine. We do have the recording from the very start, so that's okay. Feel free to share this with colleagues and anyone you feel will benefit from this. Yeah, so anything to add, Laura or Sebastiaan?
No, I'm good. I thank everyone. Yeah.
Amazing.
No, it was wonderful. Another great session. So thank you very much. And yeah, just what Sophia said, we are here to help and support in any way possible. So please feel free to reach out anytime if you need anything.
Look after yourselves and have a great week ahead and a great day.
Right.
Take
Thank
care,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.